All right, I think we are going to get started now. Welcome to the United Policyholders Roadmap to Recovery Orientation. We are offering today's program for all the households that have been impacted by the recent latest round of devastating wildfires that have hit our state. I'm so very, very sorry that you are in the situation where you are needing to tune into this program. I just want to reassure you that our organization has been serving wildfire impacted people and households and communities since 1991. So we really have done our best to curate information that's relevant, very specifically useful, realistic for regular people. And we're going to be doing a lot of sort of translating lingo and foreign terms because it has been clear to us from the beginning of our program in 1991 that the one word that describes almost every single person that gets touched by a wildfire is overwhelmed. So part of our goal here is to encourage you, to support you, inform you. And I know there's not really a word, unoverwhelm, but that is part of what we are trying to do, is to try to break things down for you in bite-sized pieces so that you kind of have a long-range view of what's ahead of you and what sources of help are available to you. So I'm very pleased to bring you the program today on behalf of United Policyholders. A little bit about United Policyholders. We are a reputable established 501c3 not-for-profit charity like the Red Cross or the Sierra Club. We have a platinum Guide Star rating from one of these organizations that rate charities. And we keep our overhead low. We have a small staff, but a amazing volunteer core that we refer to as Team Up, and that includes our special guests today. So we have been for 30 years doing this work, being a source of information for you, a person or a household that had bought insurance as a safety net, so that if something bad happened, you would have that safety net, you would have money to get back where you were. We're not for profit, not for sale, so you can't hire us. We don't sell anything. We are funded by donations and grants and a whole lot of volunteer labor. So when I talk about Team Up, I'm talking about our professional staff, some of whom are here on the program tonight, our government and nonprofit partners like Treasurer Ma, Insurance Commissioner Lara, who you'll hear from, Fema, also with us tonight, and the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. Those are some of our partners that help us get our work done, as well as some of the organizations that are active in your communities that are nonprofits or your own local elected officials are also often our partners. And so our volunteers include people who had a catastrophic loss, like what you're going through, learn some lessons the hard way that they want to share, or just have compassion, empathy for you, and want to try to make your road easier. And those are our survivor volunteers and our survivor forum, which I'll tell you about a little later. And then we have consumer-oriented professionals that help us help you. That includes people who do damage estimating, construction cost estimating, construction projects, lawyers, public adjusters, tax and financial planning experts, and real estate professionals. And those are the people that make up our team. So the program tonight, we are offering through what is called our Roadmap to Recovery. That's the program through which we do what we're doing here. Give people who are have had something bad happen guidance that's reliable and realistic. We also do a lot of advocacy work, but tonight we're here just to give you an orientation. This workshop is intended to be general guidance, not legal advice. If you have a specific legal question, we recommend you consult an experienced attorney. And down the road, we will be offering our pro bono clinics, which we are now during COVID doing virtually. And if you need access to a professional advice, you should have that opportunity through one of our pro bono professional help clinics. But tonight, we're giving general information. And just a reminder, because we know that good help is hard to find, we do have a Find Help directory on our website, and those are professionals that support our work. But the fact that you find them in our directory doesn't mean you shouldn't do your own vetting and your own due diligence and check references always. Because disasters are no different from real life, regular life, where you can trust but verify, and really making sure that that the people that you hire or you agree to pay have good references. Because as heartbreaking as it is, people do take advantage of disaster survivors. There are scam artists out there. And there are people that will push themselves on you. And as overwhelmed as you may be, it can be hard to know who is friend and who is foe. So that's a big reason we're here. We are consumer advocates. We are advocates for you. So of course, we want you to come back out on the other side of this tunnel on firm footing and healthy in your hearts and also in your bank accounts. Okay, so what we're going to cover today, recovery resource information from our government partners, and then some basics on navigating recovery from a catastrophic loss, insurance, sources of support, etc. I'm Amy Bach. I'm the executive director, co-founder of the organization, and these are the other experts that I will be joined with on the program this evening. So I am very, very pleased to, okay, we're jumping ahead here. I'm very, very pleased to welcome our California State Treasurer. And before I give her a chance to speak here, since I've been showering you all with words, let me just give a quick intro. That's me, professional insurance consumer advocate since the 80s. If you have seen that yellow book, the little yellow book, which hopefully, well, we have a picture of it later in the program. One of the writers of that book and one of the co-founders of the organization. This is the library we set up for y'all. The 2021 California Wildfires Insurance Claim and Recovery Help Library. It's there for you 24/7. That's the little yellow book. If you would like a copy of it, we have them free of charge thanks to our donors at info@uphelp.org. And for those of you who are thinking, what about the internet? Great, you don't need it. But for those of you who like to have something in your hand, this book was written by people who volunteer with our organization and also some of our professionals. And it goes chapter by chapter through kind of the basics of getting through this process. And then the whole second half of the book, for those of you who are not that computer comfortable, is basically a tool to help you with your personal property content. Again, this is just the this is what you'll find on our website in your library that we have already set up for this year's wildfires. And these are the categories that are available for you anytime you want to log on and take a look. After tonight's orientation on the 19th, we will be offering of October, we will be offering a more in-depth class on how to read and understand your policy. And we will be teaching that in both English and Spanish. We will go much deeper than we're going to go tonight. And then this slide deck that you're seeing tonight will be posted online so you can access it. And you can also write to info@uphelp.org. These are some of the previous webinars. We are, again, tonight is an overview. There's lots, all these topics we're going to touch on. We go much deeper during the following year after a disaster. So we will be offering more in-depth webinars on lots more topics, but these are some of the ones that you may want to look at just depending on what your individual situation is, whether you have a partial loss, whether you have a second home, whether you're a renter. and all that. So these are all available 24/7 for you to watch free of charge online. Now, I would like to welcome and introduce a wonderful friend to the people of California, our state treasurer, Fiona Ma, California's 34th treasurer, first woman of color in CPA to be elected to the position. She's kind of a goddess to me because not only is she good at math, but she's charming and very public spirited. She also served 3 terms in the California Assembly and has a master's in taxation and business administration. So Fiona, welcome and thank you. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy, so much for all you do with United Policyholders, being a nonprofit and a trusted voice for consumers is very, very important because like you said, there are people trying to sell products or scams. The other day, I got a text message saying they were for my visa, that they should, call because there could be the potential fraud. And I called the number on the back of my credit card and I said, did you text me that there may be fraud? And they said, no, we did not. So it looked so real that I almost called. So for you all who are, in areas designated as a fire disaster area, just be very, very vigilant and careful because there may be people that are actually, preying on you and trying to pretend that there's someone or selling something that seems too good to be true. So thank you, United Policyholders. Thank you for allowing me to be one of your government team up partners. My husband is a firefighter. He has been on his 5th fire since June. And I also am a CPA, a real estate tax accountant. So I also put on my CPA hat. And so I'm sure you will have CPA tax professionals. What I would say is keep good documentation of everything that is happening because you may be able to deduct certain things on your taxes. And so it's never too late to start accumulating. Also, if you have been devastated by a fire where your home is completely destroyed, you may be still getting mail going to your mailbox. So you need to think about setting up a PO box or redirecting some of the government mail that may be coming to your house. If you are a business owner that sells personal protective personal products that you have to collect and remit sales taxes, the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration may be still sending you notices, or the Franchise Tax Board, or the Secretary of State, or the Attorney General to your home that you may not receive. And so I would highly think about notifying all the different agencies that you do business with. Let them know that you have a new PO box because you don't want to miss a notice and have, penalties and interest and fines, pile up while you're dealing with all these other issues that you are facing right now. Governor Gavin Newsom issued his executive order, last one on August 20th, where he is now going to order expediting debris removal, clean up hazardous waste, prohibit price gouging through October 20th, because we know some hotels and others are engaging in those nefarious practices. Also allow adequate staffing for fire response by waiving some work protocols through some of our government workers so that they can work overtime, or we can pull back retired annuitants to make sure that we are getting through all of the paperwork. The state of emergency is in the counties impacted by the Caldor Fire, McFarland, Monument, Antelope, River, Dixie, Fly, Tamarack, Lava, and Beckworth. We have also secured fire management assistance grants that will be available. So I would just keep in touch with United Policyholders. I'm going to give you my personal, my email, where you can feel free to email me with any questions that you may have, or email me to follow up on something that I said today that you may not have understood. But that is askfiona@sto.ca.gov. And I have one person, Catherine Asprey, who is that is all she does, is answer emails, texts, phone calls, and try to provide as much assistance or connect you with the resources that you need. The governor has a great website, and that is www.calosba.ca.gov. That's the California Office of Small Business Assistance. And if you Google that, they now have a dedicated website for disaster preparedness, resiliency, disaster relief resource guides. And so that's where you can keep up with all of the latest and greatest on the governor's executive orders, the programs that we have enabled, federal assistance like the EIDL loan, that has been revamped under the U.S. Small Business Administration to make it easier. They have more money now to offer small business loans to business owners. And so we highly recommend that you go to that email. Like I said, the Secretary of State, if you have a business, notify the Secretary of State and the Attorney General's office, because those are two agencies that you have probably filed documents with and have received mail from them. But they are also prepared to streamline recovery efforts when businesses are ready to reestablish businesses after you have all come through this. Your local SBDC, your small business development centers, there are a number of them around the state, and they are funded by the state as well as the federal government. So these are free resources, consultants, places for you to go and call and speak to someone who can help you get through some of the business issues that you may have. And again, that's small business development centers, and I'm sure there's one located near you. We also have small business loans that are available. So now you may say, well, now that I don't have assets or I don't have my business, it may be harder for me to get a loan. I would highly recommend that you look at perhaps our CalCap for Small Business program. That is under the Treasurer's Office, and we assist small businesses that have been affected by the fires. We are kind of like the lenders of last resort. So if you can't get a loan from your bank or your credit union, again, CalCap for small business under my Treasurer's Office is available. We provide that loan loss reserve so that financial institutions will take the risk or the chance of loaning out money. And then I think the last slide that's on there is Prop 19. Prop 19 was a state initiative passed in November of 2018 that allows victims of wildfires or natural disasters to transfer the taxable value of your primary residence to a replacement residence anywhere in the state. So if you have a home that you've been living in for, the last 40 years, and you have a low Prop 13 tax basis, and you want to locate to another county in California, you can now carry that low tax basis with you to the new home, provided it is of the same value or lesser value. If you are going to buy another home, then you will have an adjustment for that, that difference between your value for your home and your new home that is a higher value, and you'd have to pay a proportionate share of that property taxes. But Prop 19 is also available for you as well. So again, any questions, please email me at askfiona@sto.ca.gov, and we are here to be of service. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much, Treasurer Ma. And we did put in the chat that calosba.ca.gov website that the treasurer identified as a good source of information. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you.
And safe travels to your husband, the firefighter. Where is he now?
He went up to the River Complex fire, way up north past Eureka.
All right. Well, Godspeed to him. Anyway, thanks again, and we really appreciate your participation. So next we have a message from Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara. I'm going to stop sharing, and my colleague Carolyn Winter is going to play that message for you. Uh-oh. Carolyn, we can't hear it. Let's start again. Carolyn?
To help them rebuild.
There we
Yeah.
go. Can we start? Let's start it again, please.
And I'm truly indebted for the great work this organization.
Thank you.
Hello, this is California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara. I'm proud to be part of the Wildfire Recovery Forum hosted by the United Policyholders, which is an amazing organization that provides unique information to so many homeowners and consumers to help them rebuild, help them understand what their rights are. And I'm truly indebted for the great work this organization is doing to help so many Californians recover after a wildfire. Please take full advantage of the resources they offer. And I'm proud to support them and look forward to continuing to work with them as we continue to tackle some of the most devastating fires that our state has ever seen. I'm here at one of the recent wildfire sites, and I'm here to remind you that the California Department of Insurance is here to be on your side. We will be here right immediately after the wildfire, and we are committed to staying all the way through until we see you rebuild your home. The priorities for us is to immediately give you access to your benefits so that you can make the appropriate decisions for you and your family. We also are going to be here to make sure we keep the insurance companies accountable and that they keep their promises on what they've made to make sure that they help you rebuild and that you get access to the resources you need to get through this wildfire catastrophe that folks are living through. And again, and the commitment that I have for the department is to make sure that we are here to the end, that we make sure that we're here for the long run to give you the resources you need, give you the advice, and connect you with the experts to ensure that you understand what your rights are as a consumer and to get you through this entire process that could seem daunting and complicated. We're here to ease that pain and to make sure that we continue to cut the red tape, give you what you need so that you can rebuild and move on with your lives as safely as possible. I'm proud to tell you that our team is at all the local assistance centers, but if you cannot make it for some reason, feel free to reach out to us at our website at insurance.ca.gov, where you can have a live chat with our insurance experts. You can send us an email. We'll respond to you as quickly as possible to make sure that we answer any questions you might have. We're glad to be here of service and know that we will always be on your side.
So here you can see, and later on we will show you again both the URL, the address of the California Department of Insurance and how you reach them. I just want to make sure my screen is showing the slide deck again. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And those of you who heard Commissioner Lara refer to the local assistance centers, we have had representatives of our organization and volunteers at local assistance centers in many of the affected regions. And those, if you haven't been to them, you can check back as we go on whether there's still a center or whether a center is going to reopen in your area. But those are great places to go to get your documents redone if you've lost important papers and that sort of thing. And as Treasurer Ma was talking about, those practical things about making sure that you're still getting mail and not paying utilities on a house that's not there. So my next guest, I want to welcome Charles Craig with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration. And Charles is the Regional Voluntary Agency Liaison. He works very closely with the United Policyholders team, both in disaster preparedness and disaster recovery. And he is here to tell you about FEMA's recovery resources, including the individual assistance grants they offer, SBA loans, and other ways that his agency helps. Thank you so much for being with us, Craig. I'm going to stop sharing and so that you can share your slides. And then I understand you're going to be also covering for the Office of Emergency Services.
That is correct.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, can everyone see the slide up there about the Dixie Fire?
Yep.
Okay, so on August 24th, the president declared a major disaster. It's DR 4610-4610. This is for the Dixie and River fires. The disaster is a wildfire. It started back on July 14th and continuing. What that means is that any damages that occurred before July 14th will not be considered part of the disaster. And we still have open incident period. So people who have damages here and continue can be included in this disaster. This disaster was designated to have individual assistance. Individual assistance includes our individual and household programs. I'll talk about that more in a moment. It has designated the counties of Lassen, Nevada, Placer, and Plumas to be part of the declaration. And registration for this disaster ends on October 25th. So I said that they have included individual assistance as part of this declaration. Individual assistance is made up of a number of different programs. You can see there, mass care, emergency assistance, disaster case management, crisis counseling, disaster unemployment, disaster legal services. Down at the bottom, voluntary agency coordination. And then in the very middle there, individual and households programs. I'm going to talk about voluntary agency coordination first, and then I'll go next to individual and household programs. Voluntary agency liaison, my position with the agency, is an individual who fosters and builds, maintain relationships with non-governmental stakeholders. Non-governmental organizations include nonprofits, humanitarian, philanthropic, academic, faith-based, and community-based organizations, and even the private sector. All of these different entities help in the disaster response and the disaster recovery. We use the term whole community. When FEMA is authorized to come in and support, we have a program that's called IHP, the Individual and Households Program, that was in the middle of that other slide I showed you a moment ago. When we provide assistance through IHP, we have two major components. One is called housing assistance, and the other is called other needs assistance, or ONA. When we provide assistance through IHP, we are required by law not to duplicate the benefits or services provided by another agency, a third-party agency. So to mitigate duplication of benefits, we have developed what's seen here, which is called the sequence of delivery. If you look at the sequence, it starts off with voluntary agencies providing emergency food, shelter, clothing, medications. Then it goes down to insurance. And this is really important. If you have insurance, you need to apply for your insurance company for a claim for assistance. After you apply to your insurance company, then you can eligible for FEMA housing assistance. And FEMA housing assistance can be in the form of temporary housing, repair assistance, replacement assistance, and in some cases, in insular areas, permanent and semi-permanent construction. Continuing in the sequence, we have what's called FEMA State Other Needs Assistance, the ONA program. This is something that we refer to as non-SBA dependent. That is, it doesn't depend on your ability to qualify for a loan from FEMA. If you are in the ONA assistance, it includes things like disaster caused medical bills or dental, even funeral. Following along in the sequence, next will come SBA. SBA is a member of the federal family. They're not a part of FEMA, but they have a program that's for disaster assistance to individuals. And so SBA is able to provide loans to individuals if they qualify. You can see there, they have the repayment capability. And SBA is able to provide loans to homeowners up to $200,000 and to renters up to $40,000 for personal property. After that, you see that there's two other parts of the referral system. If individual is not able to qualify for the loans from SBA, they could be referred back to FEMA, and FEMA could provide them a grant. And you see there, personal property, moving and storage, transportation as part of those things. Finally, if you've gone through the sequence and you've gotten assistance from FEMA or from SBA, and you've exhausted the other opportunities with federal agencies, you come to what are called unmet needs down at the very bottom. And unmet needs are things that we count on the rest of the whole community to try and address. So voluntary agencies, stakeholders that I work with, we try and coordinate to make certain that we try to help those other individuals who have exhausted all of the other resources through the federal government. The award process is something that happens with FEMA. You first have to register. After you register, there will be an inspection that is set up to go out and look at the damages at your primary residence. As Amy said a moment ago, lots of people try to scam the government. So we will have to identify, verify your identification and your occupancy of that damaged property. And then an award determination will be made. If you're eligible, you will get a dollar amount. This is a grant. If you are ineligible, you will be told why. You can appeal determinations. When you get the determination letter, it will indicate your eligibility and awards or why you were ineligible. You have 60 days from the date of the determination letter to file an appeal. When you file an appeal, you have to submit it in writing. You have to tell why you are appealing, or what you are appealing, and why you disagree with it, and submit any supporting documents. You cannot just send them a letter saying, I disagree, I think I should have got a larger amount. That will not go very far. So
I promise we will be offering more information down the road on appeals for FEMA. So Charles, you can go light on this at this stage, and thank you.
Very good. Okay, so other IA programs, you saw in that one tile, there's a bunch of different programs and individual assistance. Right now, disaster legal services, the hotline is open for that program, and you see the two numbers there that you can call and look for some legal assistance. We also have disaster unemployment assistance. That is up and available. You can apply for that through the unemployment program of the state. And another member of the federal family, USDA, has turned on disaster supplemental nutrition assistance. So this is something that you can apply for through CalFresh. And I believe that was my last slide. So I will stop sharing and return it to you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Charles. Yes, we want to continue. Here we go, back where we were. We are just all over the tech here. Okay, so Valerie was not able to join us from the California Office of Emergency Services, but that office is part of the family that works together after disasters, that includes the two agencies you've just heard from, and United Policyholders, and a number of other wonderful nonprofits. And so what OAS often, they do lots of things. They're involved in coordinating debris removal, and then they also support long-term recovery groups, which will hopefully you will be getting some benefit from a long-term recovery group in your region in the coming year. Val wasn't able to be with us, but she sends information our way almost every day. So the next person I want to introduce is our very own Sandy Watts. When I say our very own, meaning she's on Team Up. Whoever's got if somebody could mute, I'm not sure, maybe that's you, Charles, that'd be great. Thank you. Sandy is on our team. She is our insurance specialist. She has 30 plus years of experience in insurance claims. And in recent years, she's become a bit of a, I don't know, Sandy, you just keep on getting more and more designations. So do you want to recap some of the expertise that you bring today?
Oh, thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Yeah, so I have a background in insurance claims and claims management. So I was on the carrier side for many years, and I also have a background in restoration. I'm a former owner of a restoration franchise. So I specialize really in losses involving fire, water, and mold. So that is hopefully helpful to you guys as we move along.
Thank you, Sandy. And, you know, you heard our government friends, partners, talking about some of the free resources that their agencies can make available to you in the way of grants, loans, programs. But for most people, the number one most valuable recovery aid is insurance, because it produces the largest amount of dollars. And what do people need after you've been knocked down in this way? You need money to get back up on your feet. A lot of other things, but money is great, right? So that's what insurance is there for, and that's what the focus of our program, the Roadmap to Recovery program, and the work that United Policyholders does is focused on helping you extract every available dollar out of that insurance policy that you paid for, that contract that you bought, that very confusing language legal document. We're here to help unpack it. We're not going to unpack it all tonight. We're really just going to try to give you very much sort of, we almost call them like signs along the road signs on the roadmap to recovery, so that you kind of have a long range view of what's coming, or where you are, where you find yourself now. I mean, when we say recovering from a disaster is a marathon, not a sprint, we're not trying to like make you feel even worse, obviously. Me personally, I couldn't run a marathon, but what we're trying to say is pace yourself, right? Because, there's so much coming at you, people trying to give you advice, people trying to get you to hire them, people asking you to make decisions. And, because we have so many people in our family and our team that went through it themselves, we know that trying to pace yourself is really one of the healthiest ways you can approach your recovery, because most people in your situation, it's so traumatic that they just, they don't sleep. Typically, you're not sleeping normally the way you would. People describe the new normal as having sort of a brain fog. And so, rushing into decisions early on, often people say, I kind of wish I had waited a little longer. But, there is a lot of pressure on you. And I think, we're one of those voices to say, you don't have to answer every question right now, right? It's very normal for you to feel overwhelmed, and for you to need time to make decisions. And for things like, do you want to rebuild? Do you want to buy? Do you want to move? Those are decisions that people usually grapple with for a good long time, okay? So what we just want to focus on tonight, now that we've gone and reviewed some of the public resources that are available, is your private resource, your insurance that you paid for. And just to remind you of something, and that insurance is a vehicle to get you back where you were before your loss, but it ain't gonna drive itself, or in better English, it won't drive itself. And so our message to you is you really do need to be proactive to restore your assets, collect all of the funds that are available, assert your rights, and ask for what you need. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you don't have to become an expert on insurance. That's what we're here for. And that's what the Department of Insurance is here for. We are, what you need to do is just try to keep putting one foot in front of the other as you gather information to make good decisions. So, at first it may sound like your adjuster speaking a foreign language. We throw a lot of terminology out there that are familiar to us, but we thank you for always reminding us that people don't know what things like ACB, ALE mean. But the bottom line is, most homeowners insurance policies are divided into sections, or we call them sometimes buckets of coverage, and they follow kind of a similar format. And as I said earlier, we'll be offering in-depth classes over the next year, and opportunities for you to ask questions. Tonight, we just want to get you in the best possible frame of mind for the journey that you're on. So these are just a few of our reminders when you're dealing with an insurance company. We are realists at United Policyholders. We're not dreamers, because we are trying to help people that have very serious problems. And so, we try to keep things real. And so these are just some of the tips that we recommend. Typically, you're going to deal with a series of adjusters. You very often, when there's been a large event, insurers will have to bring people in from other areas. Sometimes they bring them in from out of state. And those adjusters often, even though they should be trained and they are supposed to know the rules here in California, sometimes they don't. And one of the things that we are here for is to remind you how things are supposed to be and supposed to go, so that if they don't go the way they're supposed to, that something needs to be fixed. Okay, so this is our recommendation for basic best practices, right? Keeping a journal, keeping things professional, and avoid venting frustrations and emotions to your adjuster. These days, the typical adjuster that gets assigned to your claim doesn't have a whole lot of dollar authority. And what that means is that they can, even if they wanted to cut you a check, for 50,000 or, something big, they're not allowed to within their company. They usually have a very low level of authority. So very often the adjuster that you're dealing with just doesn't have that much power. So yelling at them is generally not really going to get you anywhere, except, except in an unpleasant situation. So, not that you don't have a right to be frustrated and sad. Those are legitimate feelings. It's just that our experience has been, the more professional you are, the more you treat your insurance claim as a business matter, the better things will go for you. And we understand, you've been seeing ads your whole life about, your insurance companies, you're in good hands, and, here comes Funny Flo with her jokes, or here comes, the person with the magic wand, and suddenly the house, gets back to the way it was. And those are ads, right? So you're in a business transaction, and we're here to support you in that transaction. So we say, give your insurance company a chance to do the right thing, but don't be a pushover. The more you understand about what you're entitled to and what the rules are, better things should go for you. As I said, ads are ads. It's not that insurance companies are evil so much as they're for-profit businesses. So you just have to try to remember that your objective and their objective are different, right? You want to maximize what gets paid to you, and they would, of course, would prefer to minimize. And that's just how a business runs. But they have legal obligations, moral obligations to you, and there's a lot of laws to protect you. And you have a very pro-consumer insurance commissioner. That's why we showed you that message from the commissioner, because he really, the marching orders that he has sent down to his team are, help the consumer, and and if you have to be tough with the insurance company, you'll be tough. So partly it's their job to be tough. So just remember, your adjuster may be friendly, but they're not your friend. They're a trained negotiator. And of course, this is, for most of you, the first time that you've ever tried to extract a large sum of money from a big corporation, right? Usually, if you have like a fender bender, insurance companies typically can do a very good job at those. If you're asking them for something like $5,000 to fix a overflowing toilet or that sort of thing, those things typically go much smoother. But when you are into the six figures, and 6 and 7 figures, insurance companies have a lot of procedures in place to make sure that I's get dotted and T's get crossed. So should you expect a fight? No. Some claims go smoothly from beginning to end. We certainly hope yours does. And disputes, though, are common when there are large dollars at stake. Typically, the biggest disputes are over what should it cost to put back the home you have? What do they owe you? And we'll be going into that a little bit tonight, and then more and more as the months go on. So being informed is really, I think, your best approach. And so, good on you for dialing in tonight and being with us. So getting a complete and current copy of your policy. Sandy, why don't you walk us through this slide?
Yeah, it's really important that everyone request a complete and current copy of their home insurance policy. Be careful. It is provided by the state statute that they do have to provide you with one. It doesn't necessarily have to be certified, but they do have to provide you a correct one, and not just a sample policy. Some companies will send a sample policy. You need actually your policy. So it's really important, because that really outlines what you're entitled to. And it does differ policy to policy, even within the same insurance companies.
So Sandy, what is a declarations page, or what most people refer to as a deck page?
So the declarations page is really important. It has a lot of information on it, and maybe this is a good time to plug our next webinar. We are going to have an in-depth webinar October 19th. It's going to go line by line through how to read your policy. But in brief, the declarations page is like a table of contents, really, for your policy. And it outlines what policy you have, what type you have, what specific form you've been sold by the insurance company. And most importantly, it has your coverage limits for each coverage. Now, it's important to know that not all of the money that you're entitled to is going to necessarily be shown on the declarations page. There's some money hidden in the policies, which is another reason to get a current policy. And it also has all the endorsements. It has all the add-ons and things like that on it as well.
Okay. So this is an example of a deck page where we remember how we talked about buckets. So the buckets would be A, B, C, D. Those are the ones that are relevant. And there you can see what Sandy was talking about, that not only does it give you the dollar maximums, although those are sometimes and often increased due to wording in the policy, but they also will tell you what additional protections you may have, what additional pockets of money may be in there. So as Sandy said, we'll be going deeper into this.
Yeah, and
ahead.
one thing to remember, Amy, sorry to interrupt, but A, B, C, and D are not always exactly the same through every insurance company. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes it's a little different.
Right. And many of you are insured through the FAIR plan. And we will be offering a special class just about the FAIR plan down the road. But for now, this is a typical FAIR plan deck page. And you can see they have the ABCD, but the whole thing looks very different from a policy that you would get through through just an independent or private insurance company. Now, just a reminder that the FAIR plan is an association of all the insurance companies that are doing business in California. It's not a government program. It is an association. It is mandated by government, but the operations of the FAIR plan are very much like a private insurance company, and the people that run it are largely insurance executives working through this association. So obviously, one of the things that's first and foremost in your situation is where are you going to live and how are you going to pay for it, because you've lost the use of your home. Insurance companies use different terminology for this category of coverage. Some of them refer to it as loss of use. Some refer to it as ALE, which stands for additional living expense. And some insurers use the phrase temporary living expenses. And to make it even more confusing, the FAIR plan refers to fair rental value. So they, as being, these are all labels for the same thing. It is money to offset the additional costs of living that you're incurring because you no longer can live in your home. And so in California, by law, your insurance company should have given you an advance of at least 4 months of your ALE, of your temporary rent expenses, as well as a third of your contents limits. Now, we are hearing some reports that that the FAIR plan has told some people that they don't need to comply with that law because they don't provide ALE, they provide fair rental value. So that is a little battle that's already being waged and TBD. But if you're in that situation and you're with the FAIR plan and you haven't gotten that advance, we very strongly encourage you to file a formal request for assistance from the California Department and give them the information, because they are in active discussions with the FAIR plan as we speak. Okay, so this is another example of a portion of a deck page showing what this person has available to them over whatever period of time. Now, the period of time in the policy should be the same as California law, but it may not be. So California law says your insurer has to, whatever dollar amount they have agreed to give you for your temporary rent, they've got to make that available to you for a period of 3 years. It's typically, it says 24 months, 2 years, and then as long as you show due diligence that you're working on trying to get back into a home, you have up to 3 years of ALE. And Sandy, there is one little nuance there, right? Some insurance companies have, how would you describe just generally what kind of coverage people may have? Limited.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like little different combinations you can have. There's some policies that don't have a dollar value, that it's actual cost incurred, which means that you're subject to time limits. Some don't have time limits, so you have to really look in your policy and see. AAA is one company that gives you the option of whether you'd like to collect. It gives you, the policyholder, which is unusual, the option of whether you'd like to collect additional living expenses, which are the actual costs incurred to maintain your standard of living, or fair rental value, which is what your home would have rented for right before the fire. You have to sort of weigh the pros and cons. Fair rental value is certainly easier to collect. You don't have to keep track. You don't have to keep receipts. And a lot of times, if the fair rental value of your house, say, is, $4,000 a month, if you're worried about like running out of additional living expense money, if you have say you have a money limit that's a little low, getting that fair rental value and agreeing on it for the costs that you could have rented your house out for, then you could maybe go buy a lesser expensive place and sort of make your benefits last longer.
Yeah, and I know, Sandy, a lot of folks here that they may have lost their second home, not their primary home. So in that case, if you weren't actually holding your place out for rent, then it would be that, like, you'd be entitled to the cost of what?
So, well, what happens is a lot of the other policies, the big policies say you only get that fair rental value for that portion of the property that was rented to other people. So you don't get it unless you rented or held to rent to other people. And that reverts you automatically back to additional living expenses, which are incurred costs. So
yeah. So
did that answer your question?
Yeah, I wish we had cleaner, simpler answers. We do the best we can because the insurance companies have made it all more complicated than it needs to be, but it is what it is. So we are living in the here and now. For ALE, so I just want to make sure everyone takes away the fact that if it was your second home, but you weren't renting it, you are entitled, generally speaking, to the to what it would cost to rent an equivalent place to use, and it may be, as Sandy said, you may have to actually incur. You may have to actually rent a place and then get reimbursed, or your insurer may work a deal with you. Is there something you wanted to add there, Sandy?
Yeah, I wanted to say it's important to know that most of these policies say the increased cost to maintain your standard of living. So if your standard of living included, living in two places, half here and half there, then you're entitled to that, and you shouldn't have to. If you were spending half your time at the home you lost, you shouldn't have to pack up everything and take it to an Airbnb and do all of that work every time. They technically owe you, access to a house. We saw a lot of pushback on this, so reach out to us if you have problems. But a lot of times you can use that as a negotiating tool to get some of these things Amy's going to talk about next.
Yeah, so for those of you who it was your primary home, we are very sensitive to the reality that a lot of you are underinsured, will find yourselves underinsured. And so you may be stretching every dollar and needing to be creative in how you get yourself situated for the next few years while you figure out how you're going to replace the home that you lost. And so one thing some people have done is negotiate with their adjuster to buy a tiny home so they can actually live on their property while they figure it out, or a fifth wheel or an RV. And as we say, if you don't ask, you won't get, and the worst that can happen is they will say no. So removing debris is something that people are focused generally on at this stage. You can do it on your own, or you can do it through a coordinated process, depending on where you live. OES and an agency called Cal Recycle have gotten very good at efficiently and safely removing debris in wildfire impacted communities. And typically that means that you will, if you want to participate, if there is coordinated debris removal available in your area, basically you have to sign a right of entry form giving the coordinating agency, which is generally going to include your local government, the right to go on your property, and then you assign them your insurance benefits for debris removal, and it can be a pretty clean process. There sometimes are problems, but seems like coordinated debris removal keeps getting better each time. Some of the problems have been over excavation, some things getting damaged that weren't damaged. But generally, participating in a coordinated debris removal has worked out well for most of the people we've worked with. And that's because, you know, it can be done cheaper. You don't have to vet and figure out who's reliable. And you avoid that problem of having somebody come and maybe dispose of your stuff in a way that's not safe. So what we do recommend, if you have been allowed to get back to your lot, as painful as that is, that you take lots of photographs of the debris before it gets taken away, and save those photos so you'll be able to find them. So, you know, one of the main messages we want to get to today is what we call speaking up. And that's kind of what I referenced earlier about trying to keep it professional, even though it's such an emotional time. But because we've seen this for 3 decades, that you get more flies with honey, you know, insurance adjusters are generally very overworked. Some of them are not that well trained. So we really recommend being proactive in figuring out what you need, when you need it, and then making a case as to why you're entitled to it. And just sort of in some ways kind of managing your own claim really is kind of what we recommend. And we're here to help you do that. And keeping a claim diary is incredibly important, a journal. Why? Very likely that the first adjuster assigned your claim will leave and you'll have another one come along. That a journal is going to help you stay organized. And it also, you can refer to it. Hey, wait a second. We already reached an agreement on the fair rental value 3 months ago, right? So we're not going to reopen that kind of thing. So continuity. And also confirming that you're cooperating. So, and these are just our little, really just a list of how we encourage you to speak up, to be that squeaky wheel that gets what you're entitled to. Polite assertiveness is a term we've used, because as much as we say you get flies with honey, we also say don't be a pushover, right? Because you know, we want you to be, like I said, the informed squeaky wheel that gets paid. So we talked about keeping paperwork organized. Easier said than done. We know that. But here's just some very simple tips from people who've been there, done that. Saving receipts all in one, having, you know, one envelope where you put your receipts. Some people have found it useful to open a separate bank account for insurance funds received, and for when you buy things, you know, furniture, replace clothing, and that sort of thing, to use that account for that. Establishing a special email account for your claim is something some people have found helpful. And then we offer a free spreadsheet. This is the link for tracking your expenses and money. And this is what the spreadsheet looks like, filled in. So, and this is a spreadsheet that was donated to us by somebody who lost his home in a wildfire in Southern Cal. And this is just to give you an example of how you can use this free accounting spreadsheet that we offer to track how much your insurer has paid, how much you think you're entitled to, and then what's still owing. Okay. You heard Sandy talk about, and I mentioned that we will be offering a webinar on October 19th, but you can, if you don't want to wait till then, you can watch our previous, we've done quite a few of them and they're all available for viewing on our website. Sandy, looking at this, does this mean this person only has $300,200 worth of coverage on their dwelling?
No, it doesn't. And like I said before, there are a lot of things that are written into the policy, fine print, that increase this coverage. For instance, there's coverage in general for tree, shrubs, and plants. There's some additional coverage available for debris removal in certain situations. There's some additional coverage for jewelry and things sometimes. So this is just a starting point.
Right. What's this thing called extended replacement coverage?
Extended replacement coverage is a very it's a very important coverage, and basically extended replacement cost coverage was intended to protect people from surge pricing, increases in building costs in the event of a widespread disaster. So what they are is it's an amount over and above your coverage A limit, that when your coverage A, which is your main dwelling limit, when that runs out, then under certain circumstances, this extended replacement cost coverage kicks in.
Okay. So that's the math that we will be going over in more detail in our next webinar. But what we encourage, hopefully you've already gotten some money from your insurance companies in the way of either the advance, that's the 4 months of ALE that's required by law, or the 30% of your contents that's required by law. And if you haven't, file a request for assistance with the Department of Insurance. I mean, of course, try to work it out first with your insurance company always. But if that doesn't work, then you seek help from the Department of Insurance. But so we encourage you to think of those first checks as a starting point, and they may often it may seem like a lot of money, and it probably is a lot of money, but it may not be everything that you're entitled to. So as long as the check doesn't say full and final, you thank you, great, cash it, and along you go to figure out the full amount that you are entitled to. So we've talked a lot about figuring out what's in your policy, what's available. We're going to talk a little bit more about it, but I just want to make sure that we cover this sort of basic topic of the flow of the insurance funds. So there are advances, which we talked about, where the insurance company cuts you a check for undisputed amounts that they owe or that are legally required for them to advance by law. Then what are called ACV, actual cash value payments, when the value of your dwelling and your stuff, your personal property, are agreed to. Then the insurance companies typically are going to depreciate. They're going to apply depreciation to get to actual cash value. And then the third, so they will give you some money. So they will give you advances. They should give you ACV payments, and then they should give you replacement cost value payments upon proof that you've spent more money above the ACV. And in some cases, you're only getting, there's some things that the insurer only pays ACV on, some policies that only pay ACV. Generally, most policies today pay for replacement value. But insurers are generally going to put you through your paces to prove these values before they cut you full checks. Sandy, did you want to
put a little something in there? Yeah, just on that first check issue, one of the questions we get a lot is whether or not it's safe to cash those first checks.
Right.
If you don't agree with the amount, you know there's going to be more. It's really important. You can go ahead and cash those checks. It's not legal in California to use the endorsement of a check as a release. So by signing it and depositing it, you're not, agreeing, you're not getting tricked into agreeing to something. It is important to write to your insurer and say, I received the check, thanks for the payment. However, we disagree. We think it's, you owe us more, and we'll send you stuff later. So we get that all the time. So it's really important that you can do that and get it to your mortgage company so that they can start that process. It doesn't cause more delays.
Right. So, and just since Sandy mentioned mortgages, you are not obligated to pay off or pay down your mortgage. You're only obligated to keep the current schedule for the way you've been paying, but you have some options if it is to your financial advantage to pay off or pay down your mortgage. That's a strategy many people use, but if you're getting pressured by the mortgage company, that's not legal. So there's also, we will be giving information down the road from Fannie Mae on their mortgage forbearance options if you are in financial straits and are having a hard time keeping up with your mortgage payments and your post-fire financial challenges. So just a reminder that when it comes to valuing your home, which is kind of the big ticket item that you want to try to reach agreement on with your insurance company, it's pretty rare that people have drawings, plans still. If you do, those are great. Photographs are good. All these documents can help you reach that agreement. Now, typically, we're telling you that you should stay in the driver's seat. You may be hearing a very different be hearing a very different song from your adjuster. They may be saying, we're going to take care of this. And our message on that is trust but verify, because very often, by now, maybe even some of you have had your adjuster give you a really fancy looking fat estimate of what they think it would cost to put your house back. That's because insurers are using a program that the industry actually developed them for use by insurance companies called Xactimate. And it spits out what looks like a really impressive estimate of the cost of putting a house back. Many adjusters will try to use that Xactimate estimate as the basis for what they offer you to settle your dwelling claim. We are here to say that computers don't build houses, builders build houses. And very often people find that the estimate that their insurance company put together is much lower than what a builder is telling them it really would cost in real life. That's not always the case. Sometimes the Xactimate estimate isn't too bad, but we always recommend getting a second opinion before you reach an agreement with your insurer on what they owe you on the dwelling, unless they're paying you full policy benefits with everything added in for whatever reason, which sometimes happens when people are very underinsured. Sometimes the insurer will just say, all right, we're just going to cut you a check for your dwelling benefits without doing the depreciation or any of that. But before you sign on the dotted line, if your insurer asks you to sign a proof of claim form before you really know the value of your loss, we encourage you to write undetermined in the amount of loss. And so that kind of goes in that category of that I was talking about earlier, where you may be feeling pressured. The adjuster may come to you and say, okay, let's, here's a nice big check, we could be done. That may be very tempting. But what we really encourage you to do is let the process unfold over time, so that you really have your eyes open as to what your options are. So I talked about the difference between an Xactimate estimate versus a builder's estimate that's based on sub bids. We will go into that in more detail down the road. You may hear, if you've been getting solicited by public adjusters or lawyers that are interested in having you hire them, they may be scaring you a little bit about how your insurance company may behave. Some of that is legit. Some of it is just a scare tactic, right? Because some people do okay on their insurance claims, and of course we're here to help you do okay. But there are dynamics in the process that may cause problems and that may make it hard for you to get a fair settlement on your own. One of them is when you get lowballed. And why would that happen? Same reason anyone in a business transaction makes a low opening offer, right? They're negotiating from their perspective and their goal, you're from your goal. Lots and lots of people find themselves underinsured after wildfires, 2/3, according to our surveys. We have lots of materials about this topic on our website. We have fought and succeeded in getting some laws through that will help you. One of them is a new law. Sandy, do you want to explain the law that allows you to combine coverages after a declared disaster?
Yeah, it's if for some reason you don't have enough coverage A, which is your dwelling coverage, they allow you to take your other structures, your they call it other structures, dwelling extensions, those type. That is sometimes coverage B. You've got a limit for that. They'll let you use that to replace coverage A, and you're not required to replace, say you had like a detached garage, something that was separately valued. You're allowed to roll that money into A, because usually you wouldn't be able to collect the depreciation unless you replaced it. So it's kind of a nice law.
Yeah. And there are a whole lot of other laws that are in place, and we will be going through those over the course of the next year. But the bottom line is, if you're going to lose your home to a wildfire, California is the best state to lose it in, because we've had so much experience, and our organization has been in here for 30 years. And so we have helped be a conduit for good ideas to make your path easier. And a lot of those good ideas have become law. So there are more protections in place in this state to help you replace your assets and get on with your lives than there are in any other state. But as I said, sometimes adjusters may not be aware of them. So this is just an example of what Sandy was just talking about, that you most likely have a bucket of coverage for other structures, things that weren't attached, and you can use that if you need it. For personal property, the 2/3 of people who find themselves underinsured on their dwelling, it's much fewer people find themselves underinsured on their personal property. Most people have enough to replace most of their stuff, if not all, but there are challenges, as you probably already are learning, in collecting the full amount of benefits for your personal property. We have offered, and we will offer again, intensive workshops that will help you prepare your inventory to get paid on your contents claim. But this is sort of, again, one of our kind of basic tips is, what is personal property? Visualize taking the roof off of your home, turning it upside down and shaking it. Whatever falls out, that would be personal property. So it's, we often refer to it as your stuff: clothing, furniture, household items, appliances, kitchen items. Actually, appliances, if they're attached to the wall, would not be. But again, this is more detail than we want to go into tonight. But typically, you'll be able to figure out what your personal property limits are, the max available. But just like with the dwelling, what you see is not necessarily all you've got. You've got to do some math and piecing people together, piecing your coverages together. Okay, so these are two of those laws I referred to, where that California has passed to try to make it easier on you as a wildfire impacted household. So your insurer must offer you that payment of no less than 1/3 of the policy limit for your contents, up to $250,000. And then they also must make it easier for you to complete your inventory by accepting whatever makes sense for you to use, whether it's the free spreadsheet that we offer on our website, or a method that is easier for you, if you want to handwrite, or you want to whatever method it is that makes it easy for you to get through that painful process of writing every single thing down that you owned, as painful as that is. Then they're supposed to agree to accept that. They're supposed to accept what you give them, as long as it contains about the same information they would have elicited on their form, right? They also have to agree to accept reduced itemization. So instead of making you list every single title of every book that you had, they are required now by law to allow you to say 15 hardcover books, or 100 softcover books, or what have you, with a sort of average value of X. For mobile or manufactured homes, Sandy, you want to just give a quick hit on what are our most important things we want mobile manufactured homeowners to know?
Yeah. Generally, they have the same coverages. Coverage A is going to refer to the actual mobile home itself, or manufactured home itself. B is going to generally be the other structures, C, contents, and D, ALE. One of the issues that we see a lot with manufactured homes are coverage issues, underinsurance issues, and some of the policies are written as actual cash value only, which means that the policy only pays you what the value of your manufactured home was on the date of loss, and not the cost to actually replace it with like, kind, and quality. So that's really important, because it makes it very, very difficult. Think of it sort of as if like a car, very similar type of claim process with that type of policy. So you'll need to look at your policy and see what basis you have for that.
All right. So a couple more points I want to make. We do really encourage you to try to stay connected with other people in your situation, because they can be a good source of what we call nuggets of wisdom, pearls of wisdom, ideas, strategies, things that shortcuts that are working for some people. And of course, because they can be a very important source of emotional support. No one really understands your challenges and emotions quite like another person who's been there. And for that reason, we do offer our survivor forums, which I'll tell you about in a minute. We did mention early that sadly, there are people out there that prey on disaster survivors. So before you hire a repair or construction pro, again, really check referrals, references, and their licensing, and really avoid paying large upfront fees before any work gets done. And that goes for any construction project at all. By now, I'm sure a lot of you learned that there's such a thing as a public adjuster. Maybe you never heard of this before, but it is a category of professionals. And just like every other professional, there are great ones that are very ethical, very knowledgeable. And then there are some that are not as ethical, that may that may do a pretty hard sell and get you to think that if you don't hire one of them, you're just gonna get lost. And so we feel like this is a personal decision that you should make on the basis of your situation, right? So, young kids working, or if you have any health conditions that may make it hard for you to put enough time into valuing all your losses accurately for that trust but verify second opinion on what the insurance adjuster tells you they owe you. If you feel like you just cannot do that, there's no shame or downside to hiring a public adjuster, except that their fee is gonna eat into a portion of what you will get from your insurance company. So it's very important. If you're thinking about hiring a PA, and I have often thought that if I had a loss, I might, just because it is very time consuming with a total loss. Just really do your homework, because if a PA is trying to rush you or pressure you, chances are they might not be the right professional for you, because it is an important relationship. They're going to be they stand in your shoes with the insurance company. They do the work to work up your claim, and you're going to have to spend a lot of time with them, hopefully, as they really, if they're going to do your contents list, you've got to sit there with them and tell them what you've got. Their fees range between 7 and 10%. Typically, they weren't supposed to be soliciting you during the 7 days after your fire well, they're not supposed to solicit you when there's an active fire And they're not supposed to solicit you until a week has gone by since the fire was contained in your area or you lost your home. But anyway, so something to think about. Pros and cons. A good one can take the weight off your shoulders. A bad one can just waste your money and or delay your claim. So it's very important to choose wisely. We have some great ones that volunteer with our organization. You can find them in our Find Help directory. But again, just finding them in our directory doesn't mean they're the right person for you. You still want to do your own homework. So a couple reminders. Keep up that paper trail as you go so that you don't have to rely on your memory, which is probably not at its best now anyway. And then use our website. It's free. It's there for you. We've got sample letters. And then, the Department of Insurance, there's their toll-free number again. They have a hotline, they have a chat, and they have a pretty decent team of what are called policy officers that will answer your questions. Now, they cannot be your private lawyer. They will not take the place of an advocate for you, a one-on-one type advocate. But they can definitely right some wrongs. They can help you get extensions. They can help you deal if you got assigned an adjuster who's being a jerk and you want, it's just not a good relationship. They can help you get a better another adjuster assigned, and then learn your rights because they're there to help you enforce them. We're here to help you enforce them. There are deadlines for how long an insurance company gets to respond to your letters and to pay. Sandy, how can it be that the law says that an insurer has 40 days to pay or deny a claim, and we still are teaching people these classes a year after they've had their loss? How does that work?
Because a lot of adjusters aren't familiar with the California Fair Claims Settlement Practices regulations. A lot of adjusters, especially on these disaster claims, are national catastrophe adjusters, and so they handle claims in all 50 states. California, we have a lot of laws, and but I find adjusters who work in California that don't know all the regulations. So unfortunately, we see a lot of situations where an insurance company doesn't pay or deny a claim or send the letter within the time limit. The other thing I'd like to point out is that, the 15 days to respond to communications, it says immediately. The statute actually says immediately, but in no case more than 15 days. So it's not like, they push it a lot. So it's be assertive.
Yeah. And then, with the 40 days, if they can say, and they do, we need more information, so they can postpone, and that's why claims are not wrapped up within 40 days.
The other thing is that
we say,
oh, no. They just say we're still looking at your claim. To me, that's not an appropriate letter. Amy had on that slide the things that they have to show you. And in cases like that, where they just send you this generic letter, says we're still writing your estimate. I tell people to, write them and say, hey, we're checking in on it. What do you need? Asking the insurance company, what do you need in order to move this claim along? How can I help you? Because then you look,
right.
You're reasonable, you're trying to help, and that puts it really back in their court.
Right. That's you being that politely assertive squeaky wheel that's going to get a fair settlement because you are being proactive. Okay, so time is on your side as far as getting more money out of your claim. Statistics show that the longer a claim stays open, the more the insurer pays. We understand that in your situation, you're not really interested in sitting around waiting, or you are really anxious to try to keep moving on. But the reality is we really recommend not being in a rush to close your claim. If the adjuster's pressuring you, just be document that you're cooperating, but remember that fully and accurately documenting and valuing major losses takes time. It's very rare that people have a really good, accurate rebuild estimate from a actual builder before 6 months, sometimes longer, because it just takes time to recreate and to price things accurately. So, we've covered a lot of topics, and I know that, but we tried to really give you kind of the greatest hits here tonight to get you on the right foot. A reminder that we're here, the insurance department's here. I'm gonna show you again on our website where you can find the events to see what's coming up. There are people called case managers that will be available in your communities through FEMA and through other resources. But these are folks that can kind of help you pull things together, find trustworthy resources for mental health or for your unmet needs, as you heard Charles talk about earlier. Registering for FEMA, Charles, not everybody who was, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to unmute it. Not everybody who was affected by the fires is able to get FEMA aid, right? Because they're not all federal disasters. Can you explain that?
Certainly, and you are correct. The disasters that are declared by the president will indicate what assistance is available. So individual assistance has to be included, and it will designate which counties are eligible for that. So you have those two things that you have to look at. Is it a federally declared disaster with individual assistance, and is your county included in that designation?
So Dixie and River, definitely, yes. What about
Dixie and
Caldor?
River? Yes, including the
Caldor?
counties of Lassen, Nevada, Placer, and Plumas.
Okay. All right. Here again is the Department of Insurance toll-free number. Here is a screenshot of the library we set up for you. As you can see in the on the navigation bar there up at the top, it's on the right, events. That's where you're going to find the upcoming offerings, the classes that we're offering, clinics, that sort of thing. If you're here tonight, that means that we've got, and hopefully we have an email address for you, but we really encourage you to make sure that we've got you in on our mailing list. We'll get not just the notices of the events that are coming up, but access to everything that we offer. Encourage your friends to email and sign up with us, info@uphelp.org. It's hard for us to reach all the people that we want to reach. We're a relatively small organization, and we're not a government agency. So even though we have friends in government, we don't have access to some giant list of everybody who has been impacted by the fires. So we really appreciate your help in helping us reach everybody who will benefit from what we are offering. There's our Facebook. We have a Facebook page. We try to keep that updated, but our website is and the library is probably the best way, I'd say. So our Survivor to Survivor forums, I think are a wonderful place, a safe place for you to go from time to time. We've got one tonight, as a matter of fact. If you haven't had enough internet for one afternoon, and to sign up for those, you just follow that link. I want to thank the two funders that have already stepped up to fund our roadmap to recovery for you, the Rural County Representatives of California, the Golden State Finance Authority, and then our amazing donors, our individual, very generous donors that support what we do. You can go deeper with Sandy and us on October 19th, really digging into your insurance policy and figuring out what's in there. And we'll be going a little bit deeper on things like, how does depreciation work? What about if I have to make improvements to get a permit? Those kind of things. Just a reminder that for all of you who are in this situation, you have the right in California to not rebuild, but without leaving insurance money on the table. You have the right to reach an agreement with your insurance company as to what it would cost if you actually did put back that house that you had, stick for stick, board for board, and whatever that dollar amount is, California law allows you to take that money and either buy a replacement house elsewhere or build a replacement house elsewhere. And for a lot of you, that may be the option that you want to pursue. We're one of the few states, there's only actually 2 states in the country that give you that right. Very clean in the law, right? No arguing. You have that right. The question is often, well, okay, so you have that right, but how much money are you going to be able to negotiate with your insurer to use? So that's where a lot of our guidance comes in making sure that you have done you've got a good, solid estimate of what it would cost to put you back where you were before the fire. And so that you're in a strong position to negotiate, to do whatever you and your family decide is the best thing for you, whether it is staying in your community or moving out of your community. We don't want to see you leaving dollars on the table that you have paid for and that you most likely need. So in closing, I want to thank again Sandy and Charles, my team, Val Brown, Carolyn Winter, Emily Rogan, for bringing the program to you tonight, for recording it, for making sure it's going to be available for you to watch and share with other folks. And we are rooting for you. That's what we're here for, is to help you on the road to recovery. So we wish you a pleasanter evening and good night's sleep. And I really encourage you to take your time and just know that you will get through this. And the way most people find they get through it is just one step at a time, one day at a time. Break it down. Don't try to tackle everything at once. Sandy, any closing words?
Yeah, Amy, there's just a few people have their hands raised. And unfortunately, because of the breadth of what we're doing tonight, we're not going to be able to take questions from people. We do encourage you to go to our website, sign up. We will be having Q&A webinars coming forward where we interact with you and let you ask your own, questions. This is just an overview. So we apologize for not answering those questions tonight. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Good evening.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.